Hey guys, I'm back with another book review, and this time it is going to be on Life of Pi by Yann Martel. Even though I have it on my Kindle, I strangely enough did not actually read it on this, but I tried out my first audiobook, so instead I listened to it on my iPhone. Now instead of holding up my iPhone and you barely being able to see it, I'm just going to put a picture of the book right here. So the main point of this book, or view of this book, is that it is focused on the main character Piscine Molitor Patel, which I hope I have pronounced right, or also known as Pi Patel. The beginning of the book focuses on Pi's life when he is younger and he's trying to change his name to Pi from Piscine because it's not a very attractive name, and it's set in his zoo in the small town of Pondicherry in India. Now eventually Pi and their family decide to sell up their zoo and head for a new life in Canada, and whilst on the boat on the way to Canada, the boat sinks and Pi is the lone survivor along with numerous animals from the zoo, including a Bengal tiger known as Richard Parker. I'm not giving away too many spoilers because basically that is the whole point of the book. Basically 2/3 of the book, or more, 3/4 of the book, is spent focusing on how Pi survives being shipwrecked with Richard Parker, his interactions, how he copes with it. So that is the whole purpose of the book in a little nutshell. Now for more of an in-depth view of it, I'm just going to get into a few of the other points that I really liked about the book and really brought it to life. So my snapshot of this book, to give you a quick synopsis, is that it is part zoology, part theology, part philosophy and part psychology. And that might sound confusing and really deep, and I personally think it is dealt with really well, and I think Yann Martel takes each topic and doesn't make it really threatening or overbearing or too intense, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go into each part in detail, and the first one is zoology. Now as I said already, the Patel family had a zoo in Pondicherry, and the first part of the book actually focuses on the Patel's zoo and the animals and how they are treated, Pi's view of the animals and animal psychology and how they behave, and I found that really interesting. I think Yann Martel described the way the animals interact and the animal psychology really well, and that sometimes captivity is not a bad thing and that some animals definitely need to be feared and shouldn't be just like broken down to cuddly teddies that we like sell to our children. And I loved that part of the book. Maybe it was just the nerd in me coming out, but I thought it was really well done. So throughout this book I'm just going to throw out a few random quotes that I think will connect to the area that I'm talking about, and this one is related to zoology. But I don't insist. I don't mean to defend zoos. Close them all down if you want to. And let us hope that the wildlife that remains can survive in what is left of the natural world. I know zoos are no longer in people's good graces. Religion faces the same problem. Certain illusions about freedom plague them both. Now the second part of the book is part theology, as I am describing it, and Pi is, obviously he's in India, he was brought up Hindu and that is his religion, but he just gets this overwhelming need and want to seek God and love God in any form that he can, so much so that he becomes a Muslim, a Christian and a Hindu all at once. If that's even possible, but Pi does it. And I just thought it was great. There was the whole, whenever, you know, if you get freaked out or anything or you want to pray, you'd be like, oh Jesus, or insert relevant deity for yourself, but his was always Jesus, Mary, Muhammad and Vishnu, and I just loved it so much. I thought it was really funny. Going through each religion and kind of getting a snapshot of each religion, I think Yann Martel did it really well. He made kind of what is normally a serious topic really light-hearted because Pi was so young and naive in learning about all the religions. He just wanted to get closer to God, and it was done so well. Doubt is useful for a while, but we must move on. To choose doubt as a philosophy of life is akin to choosing immobility as a means of transportation. Now moving on to the next part, and I do realise I said there were 4 parts, but I'm going to combine the philosophy and psychology. Now while Pi was shipwrecked on the boat with Richard Parker, Pi is contemplating his life, how to take on Richard Parker, because that became his, Richard Parker the tiger obviously, like I mentioned, became his sole reason for getting up in the morning, you know, is conquering Richard Parker and getting back on the main lifeboat with Richard Parker. And this is just my view on it. I don't know whether this was Yann Martel's view on it, but it was that Richard Parker is kind of like a metaphor for life. You can either stand up, take control and face life head on, or you can just give up and, you know, crawl into a hole and die basically. Like, you can let life crush you and put you down, or you can face it head on, and that's kind of what I saw Richard Parker as in the book. I could be wrong, and I mean it is all about life and living, and again a quote, because this book is just filled with many quotes. Life is so beautiful that death has fallen in love with it. A jealous, possessive love that grabs at what it can. My overall view of it is slightly mixed up, because the end is one of those books that when you find out the end, you get to the end, you read it. If knowing the end of the book, you could reread it and it becomes a completely different book, which is amazing, but it's also frustrating because you've committed this amount of time to it and then everything is thrown up into the air and you're like, why would you do this to me? But it's a sign of a good writer. And also the sign of a good writer is the fact that I was just so struck with how beautifully written it was, and how Yann Martel captured every moment and scene so vividly that I could just see it, I could feel like I was there, and that's rarely happens, that I'm kind of sitting there going, wow, the writing in this is just blowing me away. I normally am very stuck with the story and not the writing style, but the writing style I felt in this was really good. But the also other problem was, like I said, I did listen to this, I didn't read it, and I felt the audiobook really lent itself to it. So I know I haven't read it, so this is a semi-uninformed opinion, but in my opinion it might have dragged out a bit too much if reading it, and I don't know if I would have got the whole way through it, but audiobook wise it was great. Overall I'm going to give this book a 4 out of 5 because I thought it was really good, and I actually think I'm being a bit generous with this. Like I said, the audiobook thing lent itself to it. If I had read it, I think I would probably be only giving it a 3 out of 5, so bear that in mind when picking it up and reading it. I would nearly advise you to just do audiobook straight away. But overall I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well written, and I thought especially the beginning of the book was really funny, and yeah, so thumbs up to Yann Martel. So that is it. That is Life of Pi by Yann Martel. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.